this Tuesday, October 17th, regular meeting of the Board of County Commissioners. Good afternoon and welcome to Harris Hall. We are exactly on time. I understand there's a blank sheet being passed around for sign-up right now. Is that correct? Very good. All right. Thank you very much. Then we'll move. There are a couple of items that we did not cover in the on the agenda that we didn't cover in the first in the morning meeting. Items 8 through 11 we'll cover after item 7. Excuse me, after item 12. Excuse me. And without objection. All right. Very good. And we'll move along with item 12A on our agenda. This is a public hearing and setting the final hearing for Order 1710-04 and Order number 1710-31-01. Excuse me. In the matter of annexing territory of the Swiss Home Deadwood Rural Fire Department Fire Protection District to provide fire protection service to the annexation territory consisting of 106 parcels, file number FSD 2001-7 and ANX 2. Now, the purpose of the hearing, this is the first of at least 2 public hearings on the matter, giving an opportunity to for those present to enter information into the record. If the board approves the proposal, the second hearing will be limited to considering whether there is a sufficient request for an election on the annexation. If there is no request for an election at the second hearing, the board, if it so moves, can adopt a final order on the annexation. The decision criteria for special district annexations are established in Lane County Board Order number 707-12-12-19 and are cited in the agenda cover memo and attachment. At this point, I'm going to call for board member ex parte contacts and abstentions, excuse me, due to the conflict of interest. Okay, this is the English language we're using today. Due to conflicts of interest, ex parte contacts, or biases. Commissioner Sorensen.
I just didn't understand. Are you speaking in a sort of Northern English, Scottish accent? I'm not quite understanding that. Having said that, I have no ex parte contacts.
Thank you. Commissioner Bozievich.
I have had discussions about this issue over the past, but I don't believe it will affect my ability to make an objective decision on the criteria.
So no conflict or potential conflict?
No conflict or potential conflict.
Thank you. Commissioner Williams. Commissioner Lycan.
None.
And I have none also. At this point, we'll hear a report from staff. Mr. Rickoff, would you introduce the panel and staff can proceed?
Certainly. At this point, I think I will turn it over to Lindsay Eichner.
Thank you.
Good afternoon, Chair Farr, Commissioners. The request before you today is for an annexation into a special district boundary, specifically a fire district. These types of requests are subject to ORS Chapter 198 and the Lane County Board Order 07-12-12-19, which was passed in 2007, which provides guidance for processing applications related to special district boundaries. This is the first of 2 public hearings scheduled on this matter, which is required pursuant to ORS Chapter 198. The application before you today is the annexation of 106 parcels, approximately 2,692 acres, into the Swiss Home Deadwood Rural Fire Protection District. The parcels are located off of Deadwood Creek Road, north of the unincorporated community of Deadwood. I want to make note that in the agenda title, and in the documents before you today, there is reference to 104 parcels, but after additional review, there's 106 parcels. No, it's actually 106.
Scrivener's error.
No, that's my in-between notes. So the tax lots listed, the actual tax lot list in the order is correct. The legal description attached to the order is correct. The maps are correct. It was just that the number reference was incorrect for the number of tax lots.
And because it's a Scrivener's error, we're able to continue with the discussion without any interruption.
Yeah, that parcel count doesn't qualify as sort of the official description of the property. So.
Perfect. Thank you very much. Thank you, Mr. Clark.
The parcels, I believe, are currently served by the Deadwood Volunteer Fire District, which is not an official special district pursuant to ORS Chapter 198. So by bringing these parcels in, they will be in an official special district. Of the 106 parcels are owned by 62 property owners. Lane County Assessment and Taxation verified that 51.67 landowners signed the petition for annexation, which represents 83.33% of the landowners and 90.19% of the acres. The fire district itself approved the request for annexation by resolution number 17-13-17 on July 13, 2017. The subject territory is bordered to the south by the district, so this area is north of the current fire district. The notice was posted and published as required. And we've actually received into the record 3 letters of support, which have been included in your packet as attachments 4, 5, and 6. If the board wishes to approve the annexation request today, then a second hearing will be, then the second hearing is limited to considering whether there is a request for an election on the matter. If there is not a request for an election at the second public hearing, the board can move to adopt the final order. The annexation request makes complete sense for everyone involved in the application, and the applicant has adequately addressed all of the approval criteria. Staff recommends to the board that the board adopt the preliminary order annexing the territory into the into the Swiss Home Deadwood Rural Fire Protection District and setting a final hearing date for October 31st, 2017 at 1:30 p.m. Thank you.
Excellent. Thank you. Any questions or comments regarding the staff report? I see none, then we'll move forward with the public hearing. At this point, I will open the public hearing. First, we'll hear applicant's testimony. Is there a testimony from the applicant? If you would... Yeah, thank you. If you'd step forward, no timer, but just bear in mind other folks are talking.
So my name is Greg Hertzbach, and I'm the one that applied. Fire chief right now of the Deadwood Creek Fire Service, and past chiefs have looked into this, but Swiss Home Deadwood, their past boards have not been in favor. Now they are, obviously, unanimously, they signed that resolution. There's a lot of support for this, and it's really the only way to have a fire service that's worthwhile of having.
Excellent. Thank you. And then we'll move forward with the testimony of persons in favor, followed by testimony of other persons, and then any additional comments by staff. Do we have a sign-up sheet?
I put it up.
Oh, there it is? I don't recognize this. Thank you. Excellent. So we do have a sign-up sheet with 5 people signed to speak. Now, this does not indicate whether you're in favor or other. Let's see. I'm going to just take a poll. Jan Kinney in favor or other? Favor. Kathy Barr in favor or other? And Nancy Nichols in favor or other? Jim Langbarg already spoke. Jim Chief, in favor. And Greg Hertzbach. And you are the applicant. Okay, good. Thanks for bearing with us on the blank sheet here. We worked, most of the commissioners worked all the way through lunch and didn't allow for some of the preparation that we would normally take for this meeting. So thank you. So the first person then signed up in favor is Jan Kinney, who will be followed by Kathy Barr. And Ms. Kinney, will you step to the podium, please? Go to the mic, and you'll be...
Here for this. But,
Don't worry, but if you would state your name and address for purpose of record, you'll have 3 minutes to speak, at which point I'll ask you to summarize. So,
my name is Jan Kinney. My address is 91636 West Fork Road in Deadwood, Oregon. And what other criteria did you need?
that's about it.
Okay. I I've lived in Deadwood for 35, maybe closer to 40 years, and have always favored annexation to a regular fire department or a volunteer fire department. It will be very helpful. We've had several catastrophic fires in our area, which would have benefited from an organized response more than our little volunteer fire department could do. So, and it will help our insurance greatly. So I'm completely in favor of this.
You said you weren't prepared. Thank you. Next is Kathy Barr, followed by Nancy Nichols. Same thing, Ms. Barr, would you state your name and address for the record?
My name is Kathy Barr, and I live at 91625 West Fork Road in Deadwood. And I've been a resident of Deadwood for the past 34 years. And I feel like this annexation is, it's past due, and I'm very much in favor of it. We're surrounded by forest land, and in the time I've lived in Deadwood, I've helped fight 3 house fires, and it's kind of terrifying. And I feel like we need more than a volunteer for a fire service. And especially now with climate change and wildfires seem to be what's happening. So I'm very much in favor. Thank you.
Thank you. Next is Nancy Nichols, followed by Chief Langberg, Jim Langberg.
I wrote mine down.
And you are prepared.
My name is Nancy Nichols. My address is 93849 and 59 Deadwood Creek Road in Deadwood, Oregon. And I guess I'm a newcomer because we just bought a property in 1996. I'm a registered voter in the area requesting annexation, and along with Thomas Steinberg, own tax lot 1608, 07, 00, 07, and 08. We both support annexation of the Upper Deadwood area to the Swiss Home Deadwood Rural Fire Department District. The potential to bring more equipment and more volunteers to a fire quickly will, as opposed to waiting for the the Oregon Department of Forestry to deal with a fire. You get something the size of this table, it can be stopped. We probably all know that. It will greatly improve fire protection throughout the district. Please approve this annexation. The Upper Deadwood area has had protection with a fully volunteer group, but it's quite a challenge to fund a fire department through donations. It's important that all the people who will benefit from the volunteer fire protection in Upper Deadwood pay their fair share. Predictable, stable funding will let volunteers focus on firefighting. And I would specifically like to thank our fire chief, Greg Hertzbaugh, for taking on this project and spending a huge number of volunteer hours getting it to you for approval.
Thank you, Ms. Nichols. Next is Jim Langberg.
Good afternoon. Jim Langborg. I am the fire chief of Siuslaw Valley Fire and Rescue and the executive director of Western Lane Ambulance District. Address 2625 26th Street, Highway 101 in Florence, Oregon. I'm here and I wanted to provide you a little bit of background on what led up to this, because I think this is important for you to know in your decision-making process. About 20 to 25 years ago, a group of local volunteers in the Upper Deadwood area got together, realized that there was no fire protection, and over a period of time, they actually, with their own funds and their own labor, built a fire station and purchased a fire engine. They did that with basically no training, and they began to drill, and they have come to us over the years for training and for equipment, and we've helped where we can. The problem for us is that this is not a recognized fire department, and obviously giving equipment and providing training to an unrecognized fire department poses some liability for us. So throughout their time and their dedication there, they had approached the Swiss Home Deadwood Fire District a number of times about annexation, and it didn't go over for a number of reasons. Most recently, they re-entered into those negotiations, and now they've received the approval to do that. And this is what will mean should you approve this. What it's going to mean to the Swiss Home Deadwood Fire District is an additional $20,000 in funding and probably another 15 able-bodied volunteers. What it's going to mean to the Upper Deadwood Creek community is that they're going to have a better fire response, and what it's going to mean to those volunteer firefighters that built the fire station on their own and paid for their own fire engine, they're going to have some insurance coverage if they get hurt. So I strongly recommend that you consider this, and that you also thank the citizens of your county for really doing some outstanding work. And with that, I'll close. Thank you.
Thank you. And I'm looking at a picture of the Deadwood fire truck right now, and it's a beauty. Thank you. That is the last person I have signed up, unless Mr. Hurtback, if you would like to provide additional testimony. Excellent. And that was the testimony of persons in favor. I have no one signed up opposed or other. So at this point, we'll go on along with additional comments by staff. Anything further you wish to add?
I have no further comments. I'm available for any questions.
Excellent. To the Board of Commissioners, any questions or comments? I see and hear none. Then I see no reason for rebuttal since there was no opposition statement. And I will, without any objection, I will close the public hearing. I see none. Public hearing is closed. Then we will, we have before us order number, we have before us order 1710-1704 and 1710-1704. Do I have a motion? Commissioner Bozich. Oh, actually, excuse me. What you're asking for is a final public hearing. Okay.
Yeah. So I think, so I'd like to move to adopt the preliminary order annexing the territory to Swiss Home Deadwood Rural Fire Protection District and set the final hearing date on the annexation for October 31st, 2017, as noted in order number 1710-1704. And is there a time certain for that hearing? It's a 1:30 time certain? At a 1:30 time certain.
Second.
Moved by Commissioner Bozovich, seconded by Commissioner Lycan. That is a motion to approve the request for annexation. Excuse me, and I'm sorry. That is a motion to set a final hearing on October 31st. Any discussion to the motion? Staff, anything? Commissioner Bozovich?
Thanks. So I just want to say real quick, thank you to the folks from Upper Deadwood Creek. I know they contacted me a long time ago, a couple years ago, started the discussions about this and the issues about having an aging volunteer firefighting force out there. As some of you, the short timer is 1997. And I would be remiss if I didn't thank Nancy also for her service on the Planning Commission over the years. She's been a great volunteer to Lane County, not only as a volunteer for your fire district, but also for the Planning Commission. And I just want to welcome Chief Langborg up here to our meeting. Good to see you. But I think this is a really good thing. It's the right thing to do, and I'm surprised it's taken this long to happen, but I understand some of those issues about getting a district to agree to annex other territory and get all the property owners to agree and all those logistics. And I just have to thank Greg for leading that charge and getting all that done, because it was probably like herding cats. So thank you, and I hopefully will move forward with this and approve today's motion and get to the second hearing and get that done and get you guys on your way.
Further discussion? I see none. I'll call for the vote. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
This is unanimous. We'll see you on the 31st. Thank you very much this afternoon. Then we'll move along to item 12B, which is a third reading and deliberations on Ordinance 1350 in the matter of adopting an amendment to the Eugene Springfield Metropolitan Area General Plan, the Metro Plan, diagram by redesignating approximately 418.7 acres of land from low-density residential to parks and open space pursuant to Lane Code 12.200 to 12.225, and adopting a severability clause. File number 509 PA 17-05292, PM 82917 and 91817. Mr. Rickoff.
Chair Farr and Commissioners, at this point I'm going to turn it over to Amber Bell.
Thank you. Good
Did I do
afternoon.
okay?
Sorry.
Did I do okay?
Yes, thank you.
You weren't waving your finger at me, so good.
Thank you, Chair Farr.
Great.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. This is a Type 2 Metro Plan amendment for 9 vacant parcels that are partially or wholly located between the City of Springfield city limits and the urban growth boundary. And the applicable criteria, as you've stated, are at Lane Code 12.200 and through 12.225. As you may recall, this application was initiated by Willamette Lane Parks and Recreation District for the realization of the Thurston Hills Natural Area Park. Because the affected area is between city limits and the urban growth boundary, this application requires joint review with City of Springfield and Lane County review and approval. The City of Springfield City Council and the board conducted a joint public hearing on September 18th, and the record was closed at that time. The board is asked today to deliberate and decide on the matter. In part, as you may recall, this third reading was set to afford the City of Springfield an opportunity to deliberate on the matter and decide on October 2nd. The city has since deliberated and unanimously voted to approve Ordinance 6373 to amend the Metro Plan diagram between city limits and the urban growth boundary. Additionally, at the public hearing, the board directed staff to return with an amended map depicting the Metro Plan diagram proposed amendment and the correct area affected. Staff have since provided that corrected map and minor amendments to the ordinance to reflect that map, and that's provided in your packet. Staff, to provide you with a conclusion, staff has found that the applicable criteria are met. That's demonstrated with the applicant's materials and the City of Springfield's staff report and the findings attached to the ordinance. Staff finds that the proposal is consistent with the Metro Plan policies, statewide planning goals, and other applicable state statutes, and therefore recommend approval. So the board has 3 options at this time. Option 1 would be to approve the ordinance as presented. Option 2 would be to revise the ordinance to provide staff with direction to revise the ordinance and then return for a 4th reading and set a date certain for that 4th reading. And option 3, do not approve the ordinance and deny the application, direct staff to write an order and findings to support the denial, and then staff would return on a date certain for another reading.
Thank you, Ms. Bell. Discussion to the staff presentation. Commissioner Lacken.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And first of all, I want to say thank you for moving this to this Tuesday and not last week. I really appreciate it. Last week I was dealing with a personal issue with my parents back in the Midwest, and so I do appreciate that very much. This is one of these projects where I almost have mixed emotions, and the reason why is, not based on the vote, not based on the project. I was mayor at the time when the vision of this entire area was going to be what we call a low-density residential. In fact, we had at times envisioned this as almost Coburg Hills type. And at the time, there was a developer involved. We almost got Ross Murray, believe it or not, who looked at it but declined, which was too bad because he could have probably sat on this for a while. But it was a pretty incredible vision. And then what happened? We know what happened. 2008, and the rest you can say is history. We're very grateful that the citizens of Springfield stepped up in support of Willamette Lanes. When the vote came out, was that 2012, I think, right around there, and it was a huge victory. It was 70-something% is who supported this. So it's funny when you were talking about the different options we have. Oh yeah, let's deny this. Yeah. I mean, great. The 77% of you that voted, no, we're going to deny you on this. No, I don't think that at all. It's really if you go by and see the old gray house, which by the way is the oldest home in the city of Springfield. That is, I think it's 1856 or something, somewhere around there. So there it is. It's right there. They're already been construction. You can see it going on right now, the new parking area right above it. It's really cool and the idea and the vision here by Willamette Lane is pretty incredible. I mean, you're going to be able to compare this to Pisgah, only this is really the city of Springfield. This is an urban hiking area, urban recreational area that really the city's never had, nothing like this. So it's really going to be pretty spectacular when I think it's all said and done. And based on, I know my personal confidence in Willamette Lane going forward. So that's why I say mixed emotions, because I remember the original vision. Of course, that was years ago. And I think I may have been my first term as mayor. That's how long ago that was. So, but I think overall, though, I really appreciate the work that Willamette Lane put into this. The city voted unanimously. I got to tell you, it would be very difficult for me to say, gee, let's step back and change some things, because I don't think we should. And so I think that was presented before us. I strongly support it, and I appreciate it. But I also want to say thank you for delaying this a week, and so that I could be involved in the final vote on this. And but that's really my comments, Mr. Chair. And it's going to be an outstanding urban project like this for the city of Springfield. I think people will appreciate for years on out. So thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Lycan. Further discussion to the presentation, Commissioner Williams.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Well, first of all, I'd like to congratulate the community of Springfield for having the vision to pull this off, and Willamette Lane, of course. And Sid's got, Commissioner Lycan has fingerprints on this as well. And so I congratulate all of them. These opportunities rarely come to communities anymore. And I think it's absolutely thrilling to be able to acquire this property for the use that has been designated. It's a gift not only now, but for generations to come. And I think that's a wonderful opportunity for the people of Springfield and Lane County.
Thank you, Commissioner Williams. Further discussion, Commissioner Bozevich.
So one real quick question for staff. You mentioned that there was some redrawing of the map and some minor language changes done. So that was done early enough, and it's a small enough change there doesn't need to be another reading.
Correct. We actually did the sort of interlineation at the last reading, and so that would qualify as a reading, and then today's. And the change to the map was a deletion, I recall. Is that right?
There was an addition of the map.
And adding the map to it, yeah. But that's the last.
But we kind of did that, if I remember, at the last. During the last reading, so I just wanted to just make sure we just clearly stated that there's no need for an additional reading. Just great project overall. Sid covered just about everything about it. I will note there was some testimony in opposition, but generally the testimony, addressed issues that were not part of the criteria for making this decision. Things like personal property trespass issues or street connectivity in neighborhoods that really weren't part of making a plan redesignation. So just to speak to some of those people that testified at the public hearing, I appreciate their issues, but unfortunately it's not something we can consider in making this decision.
Thank you, Commissioner Bozevich. And in looking at the map, the folks who did testify have, in perpetuity, a pretty big backyard. So I'm looking at the one of the last close-in forested land in the Eugene Springfield metropolitan area, and it's beautiful with the contour to it. And can you imagine standing on top of that hill right there and the views to the south and over the city? So it looks like we have a. Was this denial you were going to suggest, Commissioner? No, it wasn't. Okay. Then we have before us ordinance 1350. Do I have a motion?
You want me to make it? Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Mr. Springfield?
All right, so I'd like to move approval of ordinance 1350 in the matter of adopting an amendment to the Eugene Springfield Metropolitan Area General Plan diagram by redesignating approximately 418.7 acres of land from low-density residential to parks and open space pursuant to Lane Code 12.200 to 12.225 and adopting a severability clause.
Second.
The ordinance is moved by Commissioner Lycan, seconded by Commissioner Bozevich. Do we have discussion to the motion? I see none, other than congratulations to Willamette Lane, a part of their master plan to acquire what is really one of the very finest park districts, not just in Oregon, I think possibly any place in the United States. Beautifully done. Ms. Rickoff, this is an ordinance. I'll call for the vote by roll.
Commissioner Sorensen.
Aye.
Commissioner Lycan.
Aye.
Commissioner Bosevich.
Aye.
Commissioner Williams.
Aye.
Chair Farr.
Aye. Passes unanimously. Thank you very much. Excellent. Then we'll take a little step backward to item 8, which is County Council. Any items from County Council?
No new announcements from County Council.
No announcements. County Administration, Mr. Rickoff, any announcements?
Yes, Chair Farr, very quickly. Steve Mokrahysky could not be with you this afternoon. He is in bargaining and likely to be there for some time. He sends his apologies. I would like to remind everyone that today is the last day to register to vote in the November 7th election. So for those of you listening to this, if your registration is not current, you have to the end of the business day today. And I'd also like to extend a particular thanks to Chair Farr. You have been gracious and patient with the work of the board in your recusal. That is certainly a challenge, I know, for yourself, and the fact that you're needing to step out of meetings, your ability to jump back in, not have sheets ready for you, to be able to punt and be creative in the moment is truly gracious, and your patience is recognized and greatly appreciated.
Thank you, Mr. Rickoff. Any response to County Administration? Then I'll move along to Commissioners' business. Any announcements from Commissioners? I see none. Other than I'll make two quick ones. Tonight is the first meeting of the River Road, what do we call it? Refinement plan is what I've always been calling it. River Road Santa Clara Refinement Plan.
I believe that's accurate, Chair.
Tonight is at let's see, at 5:30, and that's at North Eugene High School. And tomorrow night we have there's a discussion regarding parking in the Haddon neighborhood. And also at 4 o'clock today, there's a workshop on museums that just happens to take place at our museum. So it's a long workshop. I think we're all invited to attend. I'm going to go there for a little bit before the neighborhood plan meeting this evening. So no other announcements. Do we have any agenda team requests or work session requests? Commissioner Bozevich.
So a real quick request. I attended the AOC Natural Resources Committee. It was a week ago Monday, I guess. I should have brought this up last Tuesday, but I forgot. We need to designate or elect a representative from this board to the Federal Land Management Subcommittee.
Okay.
And it has to actually be by action of the board to do that. So if we can put that on the next agenda, possibly, to elect/designate a representative to the Federal Land Management Subcommittee of the AOC Natural Resources Committee.
Excellent. Any further agenda team requests or work session requests? I see none. Then we have no further cause for executive session on this date. Then we'll move along to, we're caught up with the agenda, moving along to item 13, a review of assignments.
Chair Farr, Commissioners, I would note that we have set the final hearing for the Swiss Home Deadwood Rural Fire Protection District annexation for October 31st at 1:30 p.m., time certain. And we just picked up the Federal Land Management Subcommittee formal selection or designation process to be, well, I'll certainly get together with Diana Jones to set that on the calendar.
Perfect.
I missed anything from the morning meetings.
Any corrections or additions to the review assignments? I see none. Once again, we have no further need for executive session today. Under other business, I would like to just take 1 second to thank my fellow commissioners for the yeoman's work, the heavy lifting that you did in my absence during the deliberations that concluded with votes this morning. No other business? Our next meeting is October 31st, 9 a.m. in this room. We are adjourned.